welcome to Apex Ascend. This is where we teach lions how to rise and roar. I am your host, Rodney LaBruce, pastor, policy advocate, and also I'm a candidate for the United States Congress right here in Texas's District 30. Welcome you to today's episode. Today is going to be kind of personal. It's going to be very political, and it's going to be also long overdue. So grab your cup of coffee, grab your cup of tea, maybe even grab a Diet Coke if that's your choice, but let's get right into it. We've been missing you for the last couple of weeks. We've been out, but now we're back. And upon our return, notice that there's a lot to talk about. It's kind of hard to find a single topic to go over, but in the news, you've seen a lot, you've heard a lot, and we want to be your place that you can come to kind of get a simple breakdown of what's going on because it's a lot of the times it can be uh, kind of complicated, but not really. But it can definitely be a lot of information throwing uh, toward your direction all at once. So we want to kind of clear the noise, break it down a little bit so you hear exactly what's important. But what we're going to start talking about today is charisma. Yeah, charisma. What does that got to do with anything at all? Well, when you look at charisma or think about charisma, some of us have it and some of us don't. And I got to admit that although I consider myself to be a very nice guy, some may disagree, but I think I'm a nice guy. You can get more charismatic than me. I got to admit. But we've seen how charisma has become kind of the currency of political credibility. The more you have, the more credible you are. The more you have, the more respected you are. The more you have, the more others listen to you. But how empty speeches and bold personalities can be valued more than competence, more than truth, more than compassion, that just, I'm just confused. I don't understand. And I don't understand how that obsession with charisma has left us in the chaos, the chaotic environment that we're living in now. As you know, and you may have seen in the news here recently, Colin Allred, former congressperson, former House of Representatives, he announced that he was going to be running again for the Senate to represent the state of Texas. He ran this last time and he ran against Cruz and he lost. He's going to run again. And he decided to do that. He announced it a couple of weeks ago or so. And as we've seen, I think last week, it came out in all of the polls that says that the current House of Representative for my district, District 30, Jasmine Crockett, she's leading all potential candidates for that Senate rate or Senate race. She hasn't declared, she hasn't decided to run. I know that she's sending out kind of survey emails to see what kind of support she could get as a candidate for the Senate. So she's kind of figuring all that out right now. But the polls does suggest that she's leading without even running. She's leading all other possible candidates. And that's not really a surprise. She is very charismatic. Uh, and I saw a post today online that kind of jump started this whole conversation. In an online forum, I saw that someone mentioned, in response to Colin Allred, his run, they mentioned that they just saw him and just saw him speak at some sort of grassroots event, and they commented how boring he was. And I read the comment and I kind of sat back in my seat and I just wanted to ask, what exactly are we doing here? What's going on? What are we doing here? When does good leadership equate to a fiery personality? When does being a good leader mean that you have to be have a fiery personality? Now, if you watched football or any kind of sports, you have probably seen or heard this debate where leaders develop on a team and the news and people on the outside, we see a fiery individual and we automatically assume that that person makes a good leader. But when you get into the locker room, you find out that the real leader of the team, the real heart of the team, is not that person who is seen going up and down the sidelines, screaming and yelling at everybody. But the real leader of the team is somebody that you may not even notice, but they lead because of what they do, they lead through their actions. So we've seen on the football field where it's important to lead because y'all are about to go out and knock somebody's head around. So even in that, we look for leaders to be fiery, but that's fine. I don't care. But when you need to have good ideas and you need to have someone actually able to enforce those ideas, then not so much. Fiery personalities don't get you anywhere. So let's start with a moment from this week that made my jaw drop when I heard it. And that's saying something. That's saying a lot. So, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, goes on TV and he says, and he's dead serious when he says this. He's talking in response to, let's see, how everybody is going after Trump, how Trump is the victim, how no other president in history has ever seen the kind of uprising and just vitriol aimed toward them than this current president. And he says that when you look at the polls or look at the results of the president, he's done better than any other president. And that's evident in the polls. And then this is where what caught my attention because I've heard all that other stuff before. This caught my attention. He quoted or he said that the CNN poll reported that Donald Trump has a 90% approval rating. That's what he said. He said that Donald Trump's approval rating is 90%. Now, anybody that follows politics knows that that is absolutely ridiculous. But he said it, so I kind of wanted to understand why he said it. Now, this is what actually happens. Um, because if there's one thing I can do personally, is I can get on this microphone every single week and talk about something stupid, ridiculous, illegal that this president has done. Any week I can get on here and talk about something different. Iran, the Epstein situation that's going on that I hadn't even talked about. I hadn't even really made any social media post on it because there's just so much there. Uh, talk about tariffs, and there's just so much that I could cover. So many controversies, so many lies, so many things from this administration that's really stuck out. So when he said that this president has a 90% approval rating, I really wanted to figure out what he was talking about. So, spoiler alert, CNN did not say that. What they actually said, or what they actually reported, is that Trump has about a 88% approval rating, ding ding, among Republicans. Not all Americans, not even most Americans, just his party. About an 88% approval rating among his party. Now, his overall approval rating right now is lower than any other president during the same point in their presidency. The only other person that has beat him or comes close is him in his first term. That's it. So combined, he has a lower rating, a lower approval rating than any other president in history. But here's the wild part, y'all. That number, 88%, fake or not, doesn't even matter to his supporters because to them, if he says it, it's true. And that's the problem. We are no longer living in a fact based society. We're living in a feeling based society, and those feelings are being manipulated by people with charisma. And charisma has always been able to manipulate people into following them, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's in college, no matter where it is, people with charisma bring or make people follow them and mistake their words for actual truth. Now, when you come to talk about Trump, Trump has kind of spent his political career pretending that he's a tough guy. It's all pretend. He's loud, he's unfiltered, he's anti establishment, but behind the curtain, behind all of that, behind all of this fake stuff, he's a fraud, he's a con man, he's a chaos agent. And yet people still cheer him on. 88% of Republicans still have a favorable approval rating of this guy. That may be changing a little bit at a time because of especially this last thing with Epstein. And well, while we're on the subject, let's talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein, just a little bit. Like I said, there's so much there that I no way that we'll cover this in a single episode, not even two or three. But there's a reason why people keep bringing up Trump's name in connection with Epstein. There was a report by the Wall Street Journal that just came out yet last night, I believe, yesterday, that showed a letter that Trump wrote along with the drawing. And the drawing was of a naked lady, I believe, and not going to get into all the details of the letter, but it was a letter that was written to Epstein for Epstein's 50th birthday. And what it ultimately shows is the mind of a sick individual, a sick individual who would write something like this. It shows the connection, the friendship between Trump and Epstein. Now, the man had a relationship with Epstein. And I keep mentioning the word Epstein, assuming by now that all of y'all know who Epstein is. And if you don't, let me know and we'll go into more of that. But right now, I'm going to go under the assumption that you know who he is, at least. So Trump had a relationship with Epstein, and that's not the conspiracy. That's a fact. There are photos, there's a video, there are quotes, there are records. Trump himself said that they were friends and that that Epstein liked girls, quote, on the younger side, end quote. And now, all of a sudden, nobody seems to remember that. Leading up to the election, when Trump was candidate, um, the whole MAGA movement kind of built on the Epstein conspiracy, kind of built on this assumption that there's a list of crooked pedophiles on this Epstein list. They were all Democrats and Hollywood celebs, and they all needed to be taken down because at the time during the Biden administration there was a cover up to keep these individuals protected. All right. So let me be clear. I don't know every name on the Epstein list, but there is a list. Now, it may not be a list that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the road like that, but there are a list of individuals who have been named in court records that have been brought up to say that they are or have engaged with sexual activity with young women. There are people like that in records, in court records, that if put together could form a good list. Now, I don't know who's on there. I don't pretend to know who's on there. But if we're out here pretending to care about truth, then let's actually care about the truth. And let's stop giving passes to people just because they don't shout their lies louder than everybody else. So before, when Biden was in his administration was live and active, there was an outrage, an outpour of people wanting transparency, wanting to hear more, who's on this list, who's all involved. We've got to come to get to some resolution. We've got to know what's going on here. Y'all got to let us know. So Trump gets into office. His head of the Department of Justice a couple of months ago, back in February, says that, yeah, we have the list or we have the files and we're looking into it now to see who's in it. And then a few months pass and nothing. As a matter of fact, they made months ago, they made this whole big to do about, they put together a whole booklet, and it was all for show, that they handed out to YouTubers, influencers of the MAGA movement to show, oh, here's the information y'all wanted, or here's some information. But when they opened up the information, it was just stuff they already know. There was nothing new. So all of this time leading up to Trump's administration, the cry from MAGA was that, one, there was a conspiracy, two, there was a list, three, Democrats and celebs were on it, four, it needed to be revealed. All of this stuff needed to be released. Trump's in office. He has control of the FBI, the Department of Justice, which is under the FBI, has control of CIA, actually has control of the Supreme Court. So he has control, has control of the entire government. Congress belongs to him, both sides, Senate and House of Representatives. So all of this information about the Epstein files that they said was there, they control now. But what do you hear from them now? Crickets. Trump even said, why are y'all still worried about this? This isn't even news. Epstein is dead. He's long gone. Why? He even called his own supporters who were still crying or trying to get the Epstein files released. He even called them stupid. So he's kind of panicking right now because this is something that does not seem to be going away, because this is a monster that he built and can't seem to control anymore. At least not yet. Maybe he'll find a way. One thing I can't put it past Trump. Trump is not the brightest tool in the shed, but he is an awesome, uh, charismatic con man. He can con with the best of them. So, what a con man always does, at least a good one, they always find a way out. So, even though there's a lot of uproar now around the Epstein files and situation, and it looks like the walls seem to be closing in on Trump, our fearless leader, I wouldn't doubt that he finds a way out, because that's what he does. That's what con men do. So when you look at this, and not only this, y'all, not only this, all of the conspiracy theories that MAGA has brought up, from uh, the supposedly illegal stuff that Hillary Clinton was supposed to have done, the things that Biden during his administration or supposedly had covered up, and people around him covering up. When you think of any conspiracy that Trump and his MAGA people have brought up, when you think of any of them, I don't care, just Google any MAGA conspiracy. Think about this. Trump now controls the entire government, all of it. FBI, every law enforcement, federal law enforcement office, he controls. If they can't find the evidence of any of this stuff now, what does that say about their quote, quote, truth? What does that say about them? Everything that they said, there has never been any evidence to support it. Not even when they control the House. And when I mean the House, I'm not just talking about the House of Representatives. I'm talking about the whole House, the whole government, and every room in it. Now, so when it comes to charisma, when it comes to someone who is inspiring, who has the gold standard for inspiration, let me ask you this. Would you hire a surgeon based on how inspiring their speech was? If they walked in your room, told you you need heart surgery, and they didn't deliver it in a speech that was very inspiring, would you cut them loose and say, you can't do this, you can't handle my surgery because your bedside manner wasn't up to par? Would you board a plane with the pilot who came on the speaker and didn't give a passionate TED talk about how they're going to land the plane? If he couldn't do that, or if she couldn't do that, would you say, I'm not flying with this airline anymore? Of course not. But in politics, we do it all the time. We pick charisma over competence all day, every day of the week. We chase style and ignore substance all day, every day of the week. And what have we gotten in return for all of that? Well, what we've gotten in return for all of that is exactly the chaos that we have now. We have a court system that's stacked with partisan judges. We have government agencies that's stripped of their independence. We have a nation that's so divided that we can't agree on whether the sky is blue or if it's actually red. We can't come to any kind of togetherness. But Trump got elected because people mistook his confidence for character. And what we're doing on the Democratic side is we're doing the same exact thing. We are creating the opportunity, at least, for a Trump to rise up in our own party. I'm not calling or saying that anyone in our current party is like or anywhere near being like Trump. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we have created the environment, the soil that would produce this kind of fruit. That's where we are today. That's why we have to be so very careful. And here's the part that kind of hits close to home. While we're debating whether Trump's speeches or whether Colin Allred's speeches are inspiring, 16% of my district is living in poverty. There are hungry kids in my district right now, senior citizens in my district who are isolated right now. There are working people who are being evicted over $100 late fees right now. And instead of solutions, we get slogans, we get showmen, we get performative speeches. And that's a little bit of why I'm running, not to out charisma anyone, but to out commit them. I don't care who it is, because it doesn't matter what policies you have, doesn't matter how much charisma you have. It's what you are committed to that matters most. And me, I'm committed to ending poverty in District 30. Cutting it out 100%. Now, when I tell people that, sometimes they give me a blank stare, and other times they just come right out and laugh. That's fine, because policy charisma won't get you anywhere if you don't have commitment. And I'm committed. 16% in our district are living below the poverty line. 14% statewide are living below the poverty line. 12% nationally living below poverty line. In my district, I'm going to get that down to 0. And our district, District 30, will be a model for all other districts to follow. How are we going to do it? One, we've got to be committed to it. We have policies, we have legislation, we have litigation, an outline for that. We have education that we're doing on the grassroots level, because we've got to educate the community so that they can get behind the stuff that we need to do. And then once all that's said and done, what we will have right here in District 30 is a district that is free of poverty and that is self-reliant. What do I mean by that? I mean that even though we deserve and we will go after every federal dollar that is for us, we won't be dependent on it. We'll be able to take care of ourselves here in District 30. District 30 will take care of District 30. We're going to go after all the money we need and can get, but we will be able to take care of one another. That is the self-reliant district that we are building, that's not dependent on the whims of the government, that doesn't crumble when the federal government gets caught in another political circus. But we are building something strong and something to be modeled right here in Texas, District 30. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you already know I don't do this for applause. I do it because too many people have been told that their voices don't matter, that their struggle is too invisible, and that their vote won't even count. So why bother? But I'm standing here, actually seated here behind the microphone, trying to tell you that all of that is a lie. Your voice does matter. Your story does matter. And your vote, it absolutely does count. But only if you use it to demand more than empty inspiration, more than just charisma. So let's stop chasing charisma and start choosing courage. Let's stop looking for a savior and start electing servants, people who are here to serve you. So we're going to do that. And we're going to start right now. Before the day is over, we're going to talk to somebody and tell them about Apex Ascend, because this is Apex Ascend. And I'm Rodney LaBruce. If we want to change the future, we have to stop repeating the past, because history is trying to warn us. It's trying to be our guide. So let's rise, let's roar, and let's build a better day. I'm here for you. I'll holler. Hey everybody, this is Rodney LaBruce. I am the host of Apex Ascend. That's the podcast that everybody's listening to, or at least they should. I wanted to just jump on and invite you to take the next step. Reach out to us and join the Unified Advocacy and Leadership Coalition. That's the UALC. Right now, we're building a movement that values truth, humility, and real solutions over all that viral noise that you hear and that's causing all of the outrage. Because at UALC, we work together to fight misinformation. We look to elevate those overlooked voices. And we also develop leadership rooted in empathy and evidence and not ego. So right now, while you have a moment, go ahead and go to LaBruceForCongress.org. That is LaBruceForCongress.org. Look for the tab that says UALC. Click it, read about it, and reach out to us. Whether you are a lifelong learner, a critical thinker, or just someone tired of all the noise, we want to hear from you because we want you to join the conversation. That's all I have today. Thanks again for joining me on Apex Ascend. If any episode moves you enough to make you think, go ahead and share it and reach out to us and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.